a brief history about him. So Dr. Mustapha Made, BDS, is a dentist trained at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, serving in various capacities and as the 2024 president of the KB Club in. He has led over 15 impactful community health projects. In 2023, he launched the Your Power to Gift Life campaign with the KB Club. Through this initiative, he has mobilized over 1,300 pints of voluntary blood donations across 10 nationwide blood drives between the year 2023 and 2025, directly saving countless lives and setting a new standard for student-led health advocacy. In 2025, he chaired the American Academy of Developmental Medicine and Dentistry, College of Medicine, University of Lagos chapter, advancing access to quality care for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and organizing the first interdisciplinary student-led health outreach for this community. The 2021 UNAI Millennium Fellow, Dr. Madin, also co-founded the Revive Health Initiative, promoting climate health education and sustainable practices. He continues to champion mental health awareness, oral health outreach, and health system strategy, entrepreneurial and innovative. He runs King's Fit Footwear while building a career at the intersection of clinical practice, health policy, and systems leadership. Let's welcome Dr. Mustapha Madin to share with us what he has for us tonight. You're welcome, sir.
Woo, that was brilliant. Thank you very much, Mr. Fermi. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here and to be joined by very amazing individuals who are passionate about changing the scope, the landscape when it comes to voluntary blood donation in Nigeria. I want to be given the go-ahead to start my presentation.
You can go ahead, sir.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much. All right. I have between 25 to 30 minutes, and I'd really want to indulge everyone's attention. My name is Dr. Mustafa Madini, and today I'll be speaking to us about turning awareness into action, beyond awareness, turning Nigerians from spectators, being on the sidelines, to becoming voluntary blood donors. Okay, and first, I'd want to, this slide shows a number of things I've been privileged to involve myself in towards championing voluntary blood donation in Lagos, in Nigeria, in Ogun State, in ensuring that we are able to provide access and provide healthcare, provide voluntary blood for persons that need it timely, and also in ensuring that lives remain, that we keep our people alive. And from road shows to hanging banners at Yabatech, to hanging banners at the Federal College of Education, Technical at Akoka, to going around Lagos, 6 local governments in Lagos State, hanging banners, going on road shows, raising placards, going on radio stations, as you would observe in some of the pictures towards the lower right of your screen. This is something I've been involved in. I've been privileged to be involved in for about three years now, and I'd want to talk about what I have experienced and how I feel we could improve as a nation, but first as a people. The first thing I want us to understand is, while we go through this presentation, is that blood has no substitute. Science is advancing every day, and every day we are learning new things. And yes, there have been attempts until today, there still are attempts to see how we could provide to humans that need blood a substitute, something that ensures that we don't have to wait for our blood banks to be filled up with healthy stored blood, that we could, just manufacture something that when a pregnant mother um, who is unfortunately losing blood due to postpartum hemorrhage, we could offer her something, or a child living with sickle cell anemia, where in a country like Nigeria, where we live in Africa, definitely we know we are the ones who are most affected by this condition, or or people who suffered a traumatic car accidents, road accidents, road traffic accidents, bleeding, or a child living with cancer, someone living with cancer, they need blood, and blood has no substitute. That's the first thing I want us to understand, that blood has no substitute. And in 2026, Nigeria still suffers from a very, very, very big lack of enough healthy blood. The reality in Nigeria and the challenge that we face is that we have a persistent blood shortage. Okay. For a population of 200 million Nigerians, is something you might have read somewhere. Um, According to WHO, the World Health Organization, is that every nation needs at least 1% of its population to donate blood voluntarily in order to keep the healthcare system active, thriving, and to keep its people alive. Every country, so in a country that has 5 million people, probably Namibia, you need at least 1% of that population, that's about 500,000 people, to donate voluntarily. In Nigeria, we're a people of about 200 million people. It would be very, very, very sad to find out that we get only roughly 25% of what we need. That's about 500,000 pints every year, voluntarily, leaving us with a very, very, very large shortfall, a large gap of about 73 to 75%. Some people even say it is more than that. There's been a heavy reliance on replacement donors. A family comes in, they are looking, they have a family, they have a family member who is living with something, and they need blood urgently for a surgery. They need to put down the name of somebody that will come and donate, or put down or reach out to other people. Please, we're looking for donors. We're looking for donors. And then we find paid commercial donors that are rampant everywhere in Nigeria. There's no way any one of us could say we don't know about commercial donations. We have a very, very low voluntary donor base in Nigeria. I think Lagos State still has a higher rate of about 27%, having about 27% of its donations being done voluntarily. That is still very, very low for Lagos State, that has a great system compared to the whole of Nigeria. We have a very low voluntary donor base, and that is the challenge we have in Nigeria. We have a persistent blood shortage because we have an over-reliance on replacement, on paid commercial donors, leaving us with a very, very huge gap that needs to be filled. And who will fill it? None other than us. Okay, nobody else can fill it but human beings, Nigerians. This is us that will fill it. And there's also one thing I've noticed from blood drives, is that people might be willing to donate. Fair enough, people are willing to donate. But then there's also the issue of people not being fit to donate. And I'll touch on that as we go on. And in Lagos State, 550 pints collected over 2 days in a drive is considered a major success. The Lagos State Blood Transfusion Service does a lot in trying to organize blood drives, and also open their doors to donations, to walk-in donations. But you will find out that 550 pints collected over 2 days in a population of 20 million in Lagos State is considered a major success. And you find this challenging because sometimes people are just unwilling to donate, and when some people are willing to donate, they're probably not just fit to donate, and we'll touch on that later. The problem is not awareness. Okay. You can't, there's so much information everywhere. On our phones, on our laptops, we have enough information. So awareness is not the problem. It is the failure to take in awareness, to take in the knowledge that you gain from awareness, from being already aware. I think everyone in Nigeria is sensitized to what blood donation means, whether it is voluntary or paid or replacement. I think every Nigerian is sensitized to know what voluntary blood donation is and what blood donation is. Every Nigerian knows what it is. But what are they doing with that knowledge? As with almost everything in life, and also I think particularly with healthcare, people know about hypertension. They know what can cause hypertension. People know about toothaches. I mean, let me speak. Being a dentist, people know about toothaches and what causes toothaches, but they still present to the clinic with pain that they had felt first about 3 years ago, and then they will now come. It's paining me. It's paining me. It's paining me. I couldn't sleep overnight. But this pain didn't start 3 years. It didn't start yesterday. Okay. And it's the same thing with awareness about voluntary blood donation. Every Nigerian knows about blood donation. But what are we doing with that knowledge? Are we finding out the myths that we carry in our minds? It's going to pay me. They'll take my blood. I don't have enough blood. I'm sure we hear that enough so many times. People are aware. They are just not acting. And by acting, they are not trying to learn. Before even going to donate, they are not trying to learn. And that's the first barrier we need to break. Learning. And that's why, like I've said, I would always say I'm privileged to host a number of voluntary blood donation drives. And before every blood donation drive I host with my team, I always make sure that we go on a round of education, first of all. Yes, people are aware, but are they knowledgeable? Do they have the adequate knowledge? Okay, so you need to first of all make them knowledgeable, give them education. Okay. So a case study is your Power to Give Life in 2023, which was a blood donation drive that was hosted by the KB Club, where I was the project lead. We had over social media and conventional media, we had over 200,000 impressions, 200,000 views, 200,000 reactions. It was massive. And this, look at the drastic change in numbers. Over 200,000 Nigerians or 200,000 people across the world, you might say, saw our content over social media, but we had only about 938 responses. Okay, that's 938 people who filled our registration form saying, okay, I like what these guys are doing. I want to come and donate my blood. Although we also had a few people who walked into the venue on that day, but we only had about 402 donations. We had about 402 donations on that day, and that was massive. By some statistics in Nigeria or in the world, it's probably the largest number of pints of blood that have been collected in a day by students, organized by students. Okay, but here I want us to catch the drift that people are aware, and that's where I'm just going to end this slide. People are aware, they are just not acting, and by acting, remember, it's not just sitting on the chair to come and donate. First, are they equipping themselves with adequate knowledge to learn what exactly voluntary blood donation entails, how it helps someone, how it helps even they themselves before even sitting on the chair to donate? The problem we have is a conversion problem. Okay, and conversion is like a ladder. Okay, speaking from the little marketing knowledge I have, conversion is like a ladder. It starts from the base where you have to educate to the top where it actually leads to a sale. And in this point, please don't sell your blood. It leads to a voluntary blood donation. Okay, awareness is never action. That's one thing those numbers in the previous slide are pointing to. Awareness is not action. Yes, 200,000 people were aware, but did we have even 100,000 donations? I mean, 100,000 registrations? No, we didn't. We had 900 above. They had little, slightly above 900 registrations. That is action. So awareness is never action. Interest is not participation. Oh, I'm interested. I'd like to do it, but what steps are you actively taking? What steps are you actively taking to um to donate, to learn about donation, and to become a voluntary blood donor? And registration is never donation, okay? Because there are steps along the way that you need to go through before you get to the chair, the glorious chair for you to donate, okay? So these are things that we need to, first of all, take out of our minds for people who want to learn how to, for people who want to actively convince people to become voluntary blood donors, and for people who want to possibly organize blood drives, bigger blood drives. We need to do far more than sparking interest, creating awareness, and having registrations. There's a lot of action we also need to put behind that. Why do people? Why do people? Why don't people donate? An overview is we have three core problems according to what I feel. I think there are three core problems that hinder people from donating. The first is psychological. The second is cultural. And the third is systemic. Psychological deals with the individual, cultural or social deals with the community that this person comes from, and systemic deals with the larger, I'll say with the larger population, and that's like that deals with the system, Nigeria as a system, as a government, as a people. There's a systemic problem that stops Nigerians from taking the next step to being voluntary blood donors. Okay, that would rather want to wait till a message pops up on WhatsApp, voluntary blood donors needed, payment attached, or a family is seriously begging by the hospital door for their family member who needs an immediate surgery, but they can't do anything because that blood needs to be replaced in the blood bank. The psychological barriers, the first one I want to remove from our minds as individuals is that you have enough blood. You wouldn't be listening to this webinar. You wouldn't have gone about your day actively today. You wouldn't have had breakfast and dinner or breakfast and lunch, or you wouldn't have done anything today if you didn't have enough blood. So first of all, every one of us has enough blood. We all have enough blood. Okay. And I think it's 5 liters. Yes, every human being should have about 5 liters of blood, and then 1 pint of blood is about 0.5 liters, leaving you with about 4.5 liters, enough to make you survive your day and survive your life until your blood, renews itself. Renews itself. Okay, and psychological barriers that we face more than often is I'm weak, I don't have enough blood, and which I've tried to debunk. The fear of pain, oh, the needle is painful. There's also myths that we hear, so many myths. I think we can even drop some myths that we've heard about about blood donation. What can happen to me when I donate blood? I think we can drop some myths. So many things I've heard. I will faint. My blood went out the person. I will start thinking like I'll start behaving like the person. Or there's so many things I've heard about. So many myths, and I'm sure some of us might have heard the same thing as well. But like I started with, what I started with about awareness. Um, Beyond awareness, it's education. What all of these things are emotional baggage, what we think, what we feel, what might happen, what stops us. But then how can we remedy this? It is with proper and adequate information, which is why I said before you embark on almost anything, educate people. Okay? Educate educate the populace, because yes, they are aware, but are they do they have the adequate knowledge that could take them from here to there, from spectators to voluntary donors? Do they have the adequate knowledge? The next barrier is social barriers. We have a very reactive culture in Nigeria. We would only most likely only donate in emergency situations. We would most likely only donate when a family member needs. We most likely only donate when there's a blood drive happening around us. We most likely wouldn't see Nigerians searching for a place to donate blood, walking into a blood bank and saying, "Oh, I want to donate blood." Okay, we have a very reactive culture, and this is a snapshot towards the right of the screen on a message that I'm very sure we are all very, very familiar with. 4 blood donors needed tomorrow morning, payment attached. It's either 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira, maybe even 20,000 naira. This is a problem. This right here is a problem. Okay. And it's a problem that isn't probably leaving us anytime soon. And something we need to address is blood racketeering. You're essentially selling blood that is not enough. You are selling probably to the highest bidder or something. There's an entire gang, an entire system around blood racketeering. And for that to even be corrected, first of all, in a country like Nigeria, it takes us to our next barrier, which is a systemic problem, okay, a structural problem. And amongst the social cultural barriers that we have is that we don't have, I mean, a few Nigerians do have it, strong donor identity. Oh, I'm a voluntary blood donor. I'm a superhero. I donate every 3 months. I mean, I have the privilege to, I think my last donation was in September. So I mean, even I myself, I'm probably faltering. I mean, I've said I want to donate, I want to donate this year. I should get to it. But there's just that culture. We are a very reactive people. And that's one thing that we also need to correct. And the structural barriers that we face would include, first of all, where are the places to donate? Okay. Nigerians probably do not know the actual places for them to walk in to donate before a drive happens. People might only actually, leaving ignorance aside and leaving awareness aside, people might actually only know that people might actually only think that it's at blood drives they could donate. They probably do not know that they could walk in into a blood bank to donate. And this is where system comes in, putting in adequate systems that sensitize Nigerians, that educate Nigerians, that let them know available locations for walk-in donations, and also when the blood drive is happening, ensuring that we have systems that can spread the word very wide and far. There are blood drives happening almost every day in Nigeria, honestly. But who knows about it? And again, if it's happening in Surulere, somebody from Ikorodu is like, it's too far from me. So we need to bring blood donation closer to our people. Sometimes people also experience poor donor, poor the process, and that is unfortunate. Sometimes this happens. And again, another problem that we have is that, okay, I donated today. The next donation should potentially be about 3 months or 4 months from your first donation. So if you donate in March, potentially your next donation should be in June, latest July. Where you donated voluntarily, did they send you a message to say, please? Did they send you a message a month before? Your next donation is June 28th. 2 weeks before, your next donation is June 28th. We hope to see you. A lack of a follow-up or retention system. Like I said, I liken this to marketing. Converting Nigerians, is to become blood donors, you need to understand marketing. And it goes beyond just making them aware. You need to hold them down. You need to build that community, because if it is not easy, if you don't remind Nigerians, they're thinking about too many things as Nigerians. They're thinking about too many things, honestly. And we are people that give, honestly. I mean, I think some statistics have ranked us as probably the most philanthropic, most generous people with the little we have. We give, but you need to make it easy for Nigerians. You need to create systems that make it easy for Nigerians to donate. The conversion framework, what drives action? And I think this is what I think. Like I liken it to marketing. To convert people, first you need to make them aware. Okay, you need to make them aware. Educate them. You need to make them build your trust in you. You need to make it easy for them, and then you need to make it very, very urgent. There's an emergency. I mean, if you remember the numbers I showed in the first slide, there's an emergency if we have only 500,000 pints of blood to cater for a population of 200 million people. Is there not a problem? There's definitely a problem. We have a population of 200 million people, blessed people, but then we have only 500,000 pints to cater to these people across 36 states. I mean, I would say Lagos State is doing a brilliant job. About 220 million population, probably more at this point. We've not had census in a while. But Lagos State donations as well is probably bordering around 100,000 pints per year, they also have issues. And voluntary donation takes up probably about 50% of Lagos State's donations, which means that they still have issues. Even with a working system, um, more still needs to be done. And for the psychological barrier, which I mentioned earlier, you need to build trust in Nigerians. For the structural barriers, we need to make it easy. The system needs to be made easy. Accessible locations, nearby locations, and um, a good retention system. And then culturally, as a people, we need to understand that we're literally living within an emergency. Okay, it doesn't have to knock on your door before you know that voluntary blood donation saves lives of humans, of one individual, for a family, and for a community as well. And I just want to, touch briefly on what worked in two blood drives, two mega blood drives actually, that I was privileged to be a part of, leading one and co-leading another. And which was Your Power to Give Life, the first edition, where we raised 402 pints in a day in 2023 in the University of Lagos, and Your Power to Give Life 2.0, which was just last year, where we raised 489 pints of blood across 6 locations in Lagos State. And altogether, like was said earlier, I've been privileged to, also through collaborations, through the Your Path Give Life campaign collaborations, raise, altogether about 8,300 plus pints of blood. Yeah. And I'd say growth came from strategy and not just making aware, because people are aware. But what actions did we put behind awareness? The first strategy was to make it personal. Okay. We created stories. To the left of your screen, you see myself acting. I brought out my acting skills in 2023, trying to ensure that people behind the fact that we're trying to educate, behind the fact that we're trying to create sensitization, there needs to be a human physical touch to it. People need to see, people are driven by their emotions. Okay. And the reality here is that people will donate to people. They don't donate to numbers or statistics. Yes, I've shared statistics at the start of this webinar, but people will not donate to that. People need to know that there are actually people dying because of lack. People, humans, people's fathers, mothers, sisters dying because of a system that has made paid donations easier than voluntary blood donations. Um, the second strategy was to make it easy. And for these blood drives, in 2023, we held it in just one location. But in 2025, yes, we probably had similar number of pints raised, but we took it to 6 different local governments in Lagos State. This was in a bid, to bring it closer to people. Try to create a template that if you take this thing closer to Nigerians would actually come out to donate. Okay, convenience converts intention to action. Again, marketing. Make it easy for Nigerians. Make it accessible, and then make it accessible. Make it easy for them to understand your words, not bogus English. Okay, make it easy for them. Bring it closer to them, and I think this also helped us, in getting people aware, getting them educated, and also in also donating as well. And I think one other thing, this next strategy that helped us was social proof. Okay, people will follow people. Definitely people that they look up to. Okay, influencers, community leaders, they are, just people will follow influencers, people that could drive them to take an action. Okay, and this was movements that we coordinated as a group. That's the Capital Being College of Medicine, University of Lagos. This is with Asha Kine, creating the movement. This is with Chris Clown. We did with Shanks. We did with so many of our popular skit makers. This is with the Oba Elegushi of Ikate Kingdom. This is with the Vice Chancellor of Inla. This was to create visibility, that there's honestly nothing that will hurt you when you try to donate blood. And I think this is something that can definitely be taken and done on a grander stage. Imagine the governor of Lagos coming to speak to the people in the marketplace about voluntary blood donation. People need to be influenced. People need to be pushed. And if you find yourself in any place of privilege, in any place of power, I think there are some causes that you naturally should just champion because people would believe you. People would believe you, and people would be not tempted. People would be pushed, you know, to follow your footsteps. And I think this was one of the things that probably helped our campaigns over the past few years. And again, making it easy. We designed the experience. I want you to take note of two pictures. The first picture on the is this the left of your screen, and the last picture on the right of your screen is the same person. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but she was feeling the pain of the needle prick. Yes, it might be just that is the only pain or pinch. Don't let me call it pain. That's the only pinch you would feel throughout the process. Okay, you feel that pinch. So she was probably doing oosh, it hurts, it entered. And then look at her at the end of her donation or during her donation process. She's literally doing the peace sign. Okay, you need to let people know that it doesn't hurt, it doesn't kill, it wouldn't, it saves you, it saves everybody. Okay, it is honestly more than a medical process. The blood donation experience, and that is one thing that our leaders, and that's one structural issue, one structural barrier that we need to we need to double down on designing the experience, making it more than a medical process, making it something that Nigerians would say, have you donated? When last did you donate? Was it 3 months ago? Oh yeah, go and donate. Go and make it something within us that says, oh yes, I want to go and donate. I want to go and donate. And yeah, we made it fun for people playing games while donating. And after donating, this is people here playing different games, and this is people also winning free stuff for, we incentivize the process, of course. And here is just letting you know that a good experience will create repeat voluntary donors. The hard truths, like I outlined earlier when I said awareness is not action, registration is not participation, and is not donation. What we learned the hard way was that publicity is definitely not equal to turnout. And that's something I shared in one of the first slides. Passion is not equal to funding. Yes, to make all of this possible, we needed serious funding to make it possible. And that is one of the places that's another area where structural barriers are still going to be a key problem for us in Nigeria. Passion, yes. Oh, we want to fund your program. We want to fund your project. We want to. The government wants to. The government is doing this, or it needs funding definitely, and that's probably another topic on how to probably fund projects. But partnerships are difficult. But gracefully, I think Nigerians, like I said at the start, we are amazing people. We had lots of partners who came on board to support the project. Over 40 people coming on board with their personal funds, their products, their services to serve as incentives to people. And this is why I have in bold here that generally, and this is just in Lagos, hosted by students, medical students. Okay, but imagine if similar effort was being put on a national level by people who actually make things work. Progress definitely is possible. So I'll be rounding off. And what are the pathways forward? What needs to change for Nigerians to move from being on the sidelines to become active donors? The first thing is that individuals need to make a commitment to themselves to understand and then to become repeat donors. Okay, yes, I donated today. I know when next I'm due for another donation. Communities, and that is beating the psychological barrier. Okay, communities need to understand and try to normalize voluntary donation. Okay, and that is beating the social barrier. Institutions need to improve experience, invest in systems, and champion sustainability of that culture. And that's where the structural barrier could possibly be beaten, be lifted. Okay, so we need to create a system that works. You need to create a system. We can't bank on blood drives every time. There has to be a system that works, that alerts people, that makes them know this is the closest um, um, donor center to you. This is what you can do. This is what you should do before your donation. Create an experience and champion sustainability towards blood donation. And I think Samuel is definitely doing something amazing in that regard, the bloodlines. And this is just to juxtapose and just to summarize. Spain, to your left, Spain, the United Kingdom, Japan, Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, Kenya. These are countries that have hacked everything out, managed to say what I think are strategies that could solve this issue. They've hacked it. And these countries boast of a near 100% voluntary blood donation, voluntary blood donor pool. And these are the things that have worked for them. They replaced emergency donation with voluntary systems. They've moved from one-time donors to ensuring that they become repeat donors. They brought voluntary donation closer to the people, increased accessibility. They built trust through better experiences. You don't want to go to a clinic or a donor center and it's dirty, you are scared, you are greeted by a hostile environment. No, you build trust. Okay. And again, you normalize donation as a social responsibility, honestly, because it is a social responsibility for every Nigerian. Because honestly, blood has no substitute. And we will only keep on losing lives if we are unable to see it as a civic responsibility to donate often. So yes, time for action. And this is me just calling. I called a picture from Instagram from one of the people I look up to very much, Professor Bosede Afolabi. Some of us might be familiar with her, who was also a strong support towards your party. Who is also a strong support towards your party Give Life campaign. She says on this, I'm passionate about blood donation, and she donates frequently. And I think the way to move us, in summary, from spectators to donors, this is as individuals, is to show up. And show up is beyond being aware, is learning actively and also putting action behind our learning. So donate regularly. As a person, you can donate 1 pint of blood at least 3 times a year. Some people might say 4, but let's just say 3 times a year. After every 4 months, pick up your card, call your center, I'm coming to donate. Or when the drive is happening and it's happening around the time you need to donate, go donate and encourage others. I always talk about the candle technique. Yes, each one of us has a candle now that we are equipped with. I'd say probably equipped with some improved knowledge. I hope I've been able to pass. And we've lit our own candles. Our own candles are lit. We've been equipped with some form of knowledge, also personally, that might have gained. But what can we do? We light other people's candles. Okay, people who do not know, people who do not know how to act or where to act, or if they should even act, we can light their own candles. We can encourage them, and then together we can probably have a well illuminated Nigeria. I don't know if we have lights currently, but we can have a well illuminated, a well lit room where all of us have our candles lit and everybody's sensitized and knows that they should donate regularly, because we do not need more awareness. We need more action. Thank you very much. Please exercise your power to give life.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. That was a very brilliant and eye-opening presentation. Within few minutes, we've been able to expose us to the different barriers that is preventing spectators from becoming actors, from bringing it, from showing the action of blood donation. And it was a very brilliant presentation, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been beautiful. Thank you.
This is the time for questions. If there's any questions from the audience, please signify. If you have any question you would like to ask, please kindly signify. All right. So, IJ Odiawa, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
All right. Thank you for that presentation, Dr. Mustafa. It was really insightful and well done on all the wonderful work you've been doing over the past 3 years. I can imagine the amount of work and effort that went on behind the scene to make it happen. So yeah, well done. My question is on sustainability, right? So I'm also passionate about blood. Um, I think I'm passionate about balancing demand with supply for blood, right? So, and I know that blood drives, what happens in Lagos, according to the statistics, is that usually in the month of June, when we have World Blood Donor Day, there are usually multiple blood drives all around Lagos, and everybody's donating, and sometimes there's even an oversupply in some facilities. But after that period, it dies down when we go back to status quo. I'm asking, right? Are there any strategies to ensure that that the demands, that the um, supply of blood, that the donation stays regular, stays regular over time? I know that a lot of money must have been raised um, to see the kind of outputs that you got and you and your team got in those previous outreaches. But I'm wondering about sustainability of those types of blood drives. And is there any way, from a financial standpoint, that those things can be sustained, right? Is it sustainable from the model with which you employed to get those number of donations? Is it sustainable in the long term? And if it's not, are there any low cost methods that we can use to keep up blood donation across time so that it doesn't become just a one-time thing, once a year thing? It becomes a regular thing. So I think that's my question. What are your thoughts on sustainability?
All right, brilliant. Should I go ahead to answer this? I think another hand was raised. Okay, I think I'll just um, share what I think. And honestly, I'm very, very much open to learning. I'm not um, um, averse to that. I'm open to learning. But what I think is, and like you rightly cited, Nigerians towards World Blood Donor Day, June 14th, a lot of drives happen even within the month of June. And to build sustainability, because it's something I'm always very, very concerned about. I don't think it goes beyond the people. Nigeria does not have a people problem. I don't think we have a people problem. We are 200 million people. We should have enough blood in our storage and that's one thing I'm going to talk about, storage. But we should have enough blood to even give other countries blood. Okay, we have. I think what can champion sustainability in Nigeria is a system overhaul. Okay, and that is talking about on the national level, state level, local government level. It boils down to government, because as people who run NGOs or who run medical outreaches or who do these things from there's only so much we can do in sensitizing the people, in bringing out donors and hosting large blood drives, which are not sustainable on its own. That's how I'm going to answer that question. Yes, we can host these blood drives now and then, but then it's not sustainable on its own, because you need a system that works. Okay, you need a system, because you wouldn't fix, because like I said at the start of it, we have a blood shortage problem, and it's a critical blood shortage. You wouldn't fix that by asking for it during emergencies. You need to fix it by creating a system that will work. A system, like you said, that would ensure that there's supply before it is even demanded for. But what we face in Nigeria is that demand outnumbers supply. But we need to create a system that makes sure that supply meets demand and possibly even goes beyond the demand. And how can we create such systems? I think the government has a very, very important role to play, in creating awareness, in bringing donor centers closer to the people across the state. I mean, Lagos probably has the only working Lagos has the probably only working system. I know Ogun State is also coming up with one, and I think some other northern states are also coming up with some strategy. So Lagos State's model has to be replicated across the 35 other states in Nigeria. First things first. Every sitting governor, every sitting commissioner of health, every sitting local government council has to see it as an important part of their mandate while in office. And then when you start with one person, he starts that culture that the next person who sits in that chair takes it over from. So we need to create that model first of all, and then we need to make it seem. It needs to become a normal. It needs to become a normalcy. It needs to become normalcy. It needs to become normal for us. We also need to ensure that within donor centers, there are systems that creates the ease of repetition, and that's one thing I try to highlight. This make people, because people might forget. Fair enough, they want to know, but then they might forget because you need repeat donors to make it possible. Again, we probably need more centers. No, we definitely need more centers for ease of donation, and it's not easy to regulate these things because, like I mentioned at the start, blood racketeering is something people will sell blood for probably 50,000 naira. That's another story. Okay, we need to see how we could decentralize, bring about lots of donor centers, regulated donor centers across Nigeria. Across Lagos State is doing it. I mean, if you check out, I tried to put a link in this slide, but I mean, just check, Google the donor centers in Lagos State. I think one thing that could also help is, decentralizing collection centers in Nigeria, and then we need a storage, because the storage problem is also something that could hinder supply. Because at the time we had this blood drive where we raised about 402 pints of blood. Our partners had to let us know that they had to move some of these bags of blood to other centers. Like, the center where they are based could not store that volume of blood. Okay, they had to transport them to other centers, and these things are very fragile. That when not put in the right storage conditions, freezing conditions, they could end up bad and they could spoil. So storage conditions. So it needs active investments. Okay, we need the government. I think, in summary, it needs to be seen as a problem to champion sustainability. We do not have a people problem. I think our people are ready to donate if they are educated and if they are constantly being shown the light. What we need is a systematic overhaul and an investment. We need to see our government and people in power need to see it as a problem, and then put the money behind it. I hope that makes sense, and I'm open to learning more.
Thanks for the brilliant answer, sir. I hope that clarified your question.
Yes, thank you, Mustafa. Okay, a lot needs to be done, but by the grace of God, we'll get there. Thank you for your response.
Thanks. So the other person that raised hand, Israel Yabkwa.
Hello, good evening, everyone. And
Good evening.
good evening, Dr. Mustafa. Thank you for the things you shared. I learned a lot from it. And I have a question that stems from a concern that's been reoccurring from my conversations with people. I'm currently planning a blood drive on a national scale. It's happening in all the states of the Federation, including the FCT. And like today, when I was speaking with someone who wanted to support, not because of the blood drive, but because I was the one championing it. And the person was very, very clear on his disagreement or his stance about blood drives. So he said he doesn't really believe in blood drives because of the aftermath in the hospitals. And I think you just mentioned something about it right now, but I need more clarity, about selling of blood. And he said something like those who really need this blood don't get them. He said, in his own words, he had someone who lost her life because they couldn't afford payment. Also, he knew of someone rather who lost her life because they couldn't pay to access the blood that was available. So, and then that statement was for local hospitals, according to him. And then he said the really expensive hospitals, those who go there already have funds to buy the blood. So what do we do to close this gap? Because it's a real issue. If we are advocating for more donation and then those who really need them can't access them, what's the whole point? And how can we solve this problem? Thank you.
Honestly, this is a very critical question, a very brilliant question, and a question that I'm hoping I can answer very well, so that we are better, we have better knowledge. And this is something, from 2023 when we hosted the first drive, it was something that kept on recurring on the group chats we created, and even on the day of the drive itself, people say, when we donate this blood freely, but then when we get to the hospital, we have to buy the blood, or we have to see. The thing is, the first analogy I'm going to give is oxygen is given to us freely by God, and we do almost nothing to take in oxygen when we are healthy. But then, God forbid, there's someone in the hospital, and he can't respire by himself. He needs to be on support. He needs to buy an oxygen. He needs to be on an oxygen support tank, which costs probably 200,000 naira per day. Don't let me share any numbers, but that is one analogy. What happens with blood, and it's also integrated into the systems, and also is that when you donate blood, you just don't give it into anybody. You just don't give it into the next person that needs it. Okay, it needs to go through processes, and that is another thing that probably even reduces the availability. Okay, we might have raised 400 pints from a drive. Okay, but when this blood has been put through testing, screening, we see that this blood is not fit to be put into another human being, because it probably has it is probably infected. It's probably infected blood, most likely already infected blood that can't be used in another person, and it has to be disposed. Blood bags wasted. You see, a lot goes into buying the blood, getting the blood bags, getting the equipment that is used to collect blood, getting the equipment that is used to store blood, which is a massive refrigeration facility to store blood at a particular temperature, to test blood, okay, for HIV, hepatitis B, which is passed radically. And we use things to test them, processing blood, because we'll say one thing you might often hear is that 1 pint can save 3 lives, and yes, it can, because blood can be fractionated and separated into different components. There's red cells, there's white blood cells. There's red cells. There's the ones that can be given plasma, and what's the third one? Platelets. Yes, these are the 3. We can separate blood into this, and that's how you say 1 pint can save 3 lives. Okay, to separate them and to process them into different parts, it takes money. It takes machines to make that possible. I've also talked about to store this blood at a certain temperature, and also to even transport blood. So whatever people are paying for, in summary, blood, yes, is collected freely. We need to donate blood, because blood has no substitute. And trust me, if blood has substitutes, just as oxygen has a substitute where we do not have to donate oxygen into tanks to give people on the bedside, blood has no substitute, and we have to donate blood. But the testing, the screening, the processing, transporting, the storing of blood is not free. Okay, money goes into that, time goes into that, effort goes into that, and that is why blood is not essentially sold in the. Yes, people have to pay for it when they need it, but it is essentially not sold. It is. It is. It is. It is paid for. It is. They are charging for the processes that made it possible to be accessed. Okay, because and speaking using Lagos State as another point of reference is that Lagos State has the most subsidized rate. Even you walk into any government hospital, you still have to pay for blood to access blood. And I think Lagos State, I'm not sure of the numbers, but I know it's probably between 10 to 25,000 naira. I'm not sure if anybody has accurate figures, but you still have to pay because those processes cost millions to run. And then some might turn out to be unfit to be used on another person. And then it needs to, so essentially, blood is given freely to us by God. We also donate freely to help people. But that blood that you have donated inside that bag cannot just be put into the next person that needs it because it needs to be tested, it needs to be processed, it needs to be stored, and then it needs to be transported to where it is needed. And that chain needs to be paid for. Okay, so essentially, we need to build a system that can ensure that the supply chain for blood process, blood storing, and blood availability is manageable and is is less cost intensive or is covered by some magical fund. At the moment, that's what I could term it. So I hope that is clear, and I hope it makes sense. Because donating blood is just the first step. Hosting blood drives is just the first step. It is a philanthropic step. It is a superhero step, but there are processes before it gets to the end user, and those processes, those steps need to be paid for. Okay, and I know different hospitals might charge differently for to make it accessible to the end user, and that's probably where regulations come in again. By the National Blood Service Commission and state specific blood commissions, and I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the brilliant answer, sir. So before we call it a day, it's possible we can take one more question. Anybody still have a question? Mr. Amu, you can go ahead, sir.
Faramis, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, I think my network has not been the best this evening, but I will try. Dr. Mustafa, thank you I don't know, it feels, I'm used to calling you Musti, since forever now. But yeah, thank you very much for the super presentation. Yesterday when we were having the what I call it rehearsal, when you were showing me some of the things that you wanted to talk about, I was saying yesterday that this is really super stuff, and I'm sure that everybody joining would be happy to learn a thing or two from what you had to present. I just wanted to make a little comment on, because I'm very passionate about this whole blood thing. I want to make a little comment on the last question. And just like you said before you wrapped up, the problem that we have is layered, right? So there are layers to the problem. So it's like peeling off an onion. When you peel off the first layer, you find out that there's another problem. and then you keep peeling it off till you get to the very core of the problem. So there are different issues to the problem of blood. When I talk about the problem of blood generate people, I'm like, where should I start? Right? And the question of whether blood is sold or not is one layer of the problem. But you see, the major problem of blood is that the blood itself is not available. Right? So let's take it step by step. The first problem is that the blood is not even available. Right? Yes, let's say we now made the blood available. Some people now want to sell it. Fine. But the primary problem, I think, is that the blood is not even available. So let's not focus too much. Yes, it's true that they sell blood in places, but I don't think, well, personally for me, I don't think it would deter me from walking into any blood bank to say, okay, let me go and donate blood. Even though I know in some sense that, of course, in Lut and many places in Lagos, they don't sell blood in quote, right? But it wouldn't stop me if I was going to another state from going there to donate blood, because the blood has to be available first in the blood bank for them to even think of selling it, right? So if the person who needs the blood has the resources to buy the blood, fine. And if they don't, but the blood has to be first be available, which is the point I just want to drive home. So I don't think it should. I don't know how you're going to communicate it to people that you're having conversations with, Israel. But the major problem is that the blood is not even available first. So let's try to counter that problem. If we can focus on that, then we can now start thinking of how to, phase out the problem of paying for blood. And that would happen. That would naturally phase out if there's blood available. Like if there's blood available, normally voluntary people come to donate. The whole paying for blood thing mixed up with commercial donors would eventually phase out gradually. So let's have more people donating, basically. So just keep donating. If we have 90% voluntary blood donors, the whole issue of blood, because what do you have to sell? There's no demand for it anymore, because you can easily go to where blood is available and get it for free, right? Albeit you have to pay a processing fee, right? But you can easily go to a place where blood is available and get it for free, right? So it's a lack of demand thing, right? So that's the way I really, really see the problem. So let's major on the majors, and let's how this let's do how did I say this thing? Let's start from first principles, right? Let's get the blood in the blood banks first before we now start talking about the money around it, right? Yeah, and I just wanted to say so that all this information is not lost on us as well. Just to add to what Mustafa is saying, we have very, very big systemic problems, but I think systemic problem is systemic problem. The government has a role to play, definitely. But let's not get lost in all of that, because at the end of the day, it boils down to the individual, right? So I would say that, and this goes to the other thing that IJ was saying, right? I would say that, yes, let's solve the systemic problem, but let's not forget our own individual role in this, right? The way to solve the systemic problems also by taking responsibility on the individual level to say, okay, let me educate the other person, and let me myself take action. What Dr. Mustafa has been saying since is it's awareness is not enough. Let's take action. And the best way to take action and to encourage people to take action is to lead the way, right? And in my own experience, in my own little way, every time I go to donate, one other person, I make noise about it on my status. Other people say, oh, they want to come and donate. And these days I've been finding that I've been having donor partners coming to join me. The last donation I made, I wasn't even the one that said, let me go and donate myself. It was my co-worker whom I had taken the last time that said, it's time for us to donate again. Let's go and donate. I was even the one that stated, I'm not ready. Can you come to me? I said, no, let's go today. Right? So on the individual level, what are we doing basically, right? The government has its issues. And if we're going to be honest with ourselves, there is really no realistic timeline for repair. It's probably going to be like this for the next 30 years. And it's not about, being a prophet of doom or anything. So what do we do on our own level? Which is one of the reasons why we're trying to build bloodlines as well, right? When the whole voluntary blood donation thing started, it didn't start with the government. It started with a group of people, right, in the Red Cross. So there's a lot that we can do as well as a people, as an individual, as a community. And let's try to focus on that in our own circles. What can we do? So Dr. Mustafa has done really amazing work. I just look from afar. Anytime they do their YP, that your power to gives life, I'm like, wow, this is really big, 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 big stuff, right? It's really, really amazing work that goes into that. And if we have like multiple people like him, we have multiple organizations like that here and there partnering, figuring things out, just trying to see something, find a way forward. I don't think that the problem is too far from being solved. So yeah, I just wanted to make that comment.
That is so crucial. Thank you very much for chipping that in. Um, Samuel, I always love to hear you talk and also your passion towards this. And I really want to say that you're someone that has, definitely given me the drive to also want to do more towards this. I mean, with what you're doing across, we've had so many conversations about this, and I'm happy you brought me to talk about this and to learn and to also listen and to speak and also to hear you also hear other Nigerians being also very, very passionate about it. So I'm hopeful that, like you said, as I know, we always end everything in God's hands, like we should, of course, but behind all of that, behind being aware and behind telling God, we also need to act because God has said we should tie our camels. I mean, we should pray, but we should also tie our camels down. We should pray for that our camels should not run away, should not be stolen, but we should also tie it down. So we should put in action behind all of our hope and all of our awareness. So I think I'd want to end with that and say thank you again to Samuiwa Bloodlines Foundation and everybody that joined. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very, very much again, Dr. Mustafa, for the amazing presentation. Thank you for your time, and thank you for everybody to everybody that showed up. We do this every month, so you can remain on the group. We're going to do another one next month. I was just chatting up Dr. Mustafa now whether we could have ways to partner for doing this on a more regular basis. So if you are into blood, if you're passionate about it, if you have a blood drive organization or anything, we could come together, do this on a monthly basis, make it like one integrated action awareness thing. I think I love the way everybody here came from different organizations. So Israel brought his people from, the national blood drive that he's doing. Dr. Mustafa brought his people. So, very interesting. So I'm really glad the numbers that I saw today, and I'm hoping that we can keep it up for subsequent webinars. So guys, thank you very much. Dr. Mustafa, thank you very, very much for showing up again. And thank you for the questions, IJ and Israel. And thank you very much, Fermi, for hosting this excellently. So guys, I guess that's good night. Fermi, last words before you run away.
All right. So thanks so much, Dr. Mustafa, for the brilliant insights and the presentation you shared with us. Also, thanks to everyone that participated and contributed, IJ, Mr. Muiwa, and Mr. Israel. So from what Dr. Mustafa shared with us today, I'm sure there's one important thing we've all learned, which is that awareness is important, but action is what saves life. So I'm just using this medium to charge us all that we should take action. So I think, and that's a good night. Thank you very much for attending.